Stephen, I'm in the jail at the airport. I was being non-compliant according to Sarah. Sarah, who wouldn't stop talking the whole flight. Yeah, the flight attendant. You're being non-compliant, Mr. Polin. And I'm like, you're being a bitch.
Stephen, we have a lot to talk about today.
Welcome home.
Oh yeah, I'm home. Yay. Yay, I'm home.
Yay.
Yay, I did so much travel. I got home and then I left 3 hours later to go to Detroit. That's what happened.
Oh, yeah.
But I also almost got kicked off of... I couldn't get kicked off the flight. The flight was about to land.
So weird. Plane issues?
First off, it wasn't me. It wasn't me. It really wasn't me, Stephen. This flight attendant was a piece of shit. Just flat out the worst flight attendant in terms of... She was like Miss Rachel type. What do you mean? Oh, this is for you. That is great. She like talked to you as if you were a kindergartner. And that's not my words.
Sometimes we got to do that with you.
That's not my words. That was the guy 2 seats to the left in first class who was pissed at her because that's how she treated everybody. But let me take you back to what happened. I fly from Hawaii. I fly from Hawaii to LA. Right? That's fine because that's not the middle of the night. You leave Hawaii at 2:03, you get to LA around 10 p.m., 10:30. Our flight was now going to be at 12 o'clock, 12:30 to get out of there on a red eye to Philly. And it lands at 8 a.m. at home because you're flying all night. So we're on the plane. I'm in first class, I got upgraded. It got upgraded. It wasn't me. I didn't pay for it. I got my miles and shit. And the flight attendant was super loud, right? She was super loud. It's like really bad when people are in red eye and they turn on their light. It's like it's supposed to be dark. You're supposed to try to sleep.
Let me read a book at 2 a.m. on a red eye flight. Perfect.
It's just more disrespectful to everybody else. Like you have to take into account other people. You should. Right?
Well, and usually the captain dims the entire cabin.
Correct. So I have in-ear canceling headphones. I've got the Apple AirPod Pros, and they do a great job canceling out noise. But a while into the flight, I was just like, all I heard was this shrilly voice, and it was her.
Wow, even through the noise canceling.
Through the noise canceling. And so I went up. I got out of my seat. I looked at the woman next to me and she's like, yeah, it's really bad. And I went over and I was like, excuse me, could you guys please keep it down? In that tone, it was a guy flight attendant and it was this woman. And I'm like, could you, please keep it down? And she's like, we'll do our best. Right. And it's just shit like this. So you go back and it's nonstop. And it's not like she was talking about flight stuff because I said something to my friend who's also a flight attendant. She's like, well, we try to keep each other awake on those long flights by, whatever. I'm like, no, I totally get that. But you would do it in a very hush tone. You wouldn't do it at 90% volume so that everybody in the fucking cabin can hear you. So I went up like another two times and said something, or from my seat, the guy saw me and I'm like, can you guys please keep it down?
Can you shut the
Yeah, well, when she came around 30 minutes before we landed, they start doing that, put your seat up bullshit, which is still so fucking stupid. Well, my seat didn't go up in time for her. It didn't go up in time when she was standing.
On purpose?
Excuse me, sir. Could you move your seat up? And I'm, pushing the button. I was making pretend I was pushing the button. I just wanted to talk to her because it was really upsetting. You're literally getting no sleep, and it's fucking annoying.
An eye.
No, so I do put my seat up, and then she's like, "You're being very non-compliant."
Oh, here we go.
You're being very non-compliant. I'm like, excuse me, what are you referring to? All I did was, my seat is up. It took you too long. I'm like, my seat is up now.
She knew what you were doing.
I'm like, do you know how disrespectful it was to hear you all night on the flight? And I did it in a very calm tone like that. She goes, you ever hear of wearing headphones? I'm like, you literally just saw me take out my headphones. I could hear you through the headphones. And then she would just went and got the picture. You're being very non-compliant, Mr. Polin. And then, shit like that. Wait, oh, yeah.
She went all teacher on you.
I told you she was like a kindergartner. So I just sat there and I looked at her because I knew there was nothing you can fucking say. She's like, you're being very non-compliant. And I said, wait, I'm being non-compliant because I'm asking you a question. I'm asking you a question about how loud you were the whole night. and how disrespectful that was. And that's non-compliance? No, that's asking a question. And the guy who looked like a guy you wouldn't want to fuck with because he's probably been in jail 4 times was like, leave him the fuck alone. He just woke up. He's groggy. That's probably why his seat didn't go up in time. He didn't hear you, which I did hear her because that's the whole point is I did hear her. And he's like, so she gets the paper. She's like, you're being non-compliant so-and-so. It's like, she was just going to have a throwdown with everybody. And Troy, who was in front of me, my friend who gets along with everybody, was like, I was going to chime in, but then I was like, what's the point? That she's going to be just a bitch.
Yeah.
And so I tried to say something to the other flight attendant, like, you do understand, like, in a very calm voice. He knew, but then my flight attendant friend said, she looked up the flight. She said, yeah, that guy, it was literally his first flight, so he was scared shitless to say anything to her, basically. So she makes pretend she calls the captain. I don't know. She picks up the handset. She's like, we have 2 people being very non-compliant. Like, what the fuck is that? So stop saying non-compliant, you dumb fuck.
Get the U.S. Marshals immediately.
It's just like, no, but everybody was like, she's being a fucking bitch.
It's one thing to be loud during a normal flight. I understand that. Or if they're doing literally their job. And communicating. But when it's a red-eye flight and it's meant to be pretty much silent, blackout the entire flight, there's no food service, right?
No, there was no food service.
I mean, there's nothing to be prepped. Just be quiet the entire time.
Well, guess what? I didn't hear a word out of the other flight attendant. If he was talking, you know why you didn't hear a word from him? Because you couldn't get a word in otherwise with her. I heard her talking about her brother. I heard her talking about everything but flying. Through my headphones, Steven! Through my noise-canceling fucking headphones!
That's pretty bad because noise canceling, I mean, I'll even use the Bose headphones, the over-the-ear ones, the XM4s or whatever they're called, when I'm mowing the lawn. I can barely hear the lawnmower.
You have Bose headphones? What happened to your Sonys?
Oh, I'm sorry. Sony's, not Bose, yeah. But I can barely hear the lawnmower. That's how great the noise canceling. And I'm sure the AirPods are similar. They're not going to be as good because they're not over the ear. But still, when they're going through the noise canceling, then that means they're very, very loud.
Yes. I mean, she's louder than a lawnmower.
And you could talk. Just keep it down.
That's what I was saying. It's like, could you guys just please keep it down? We'll do our best.
And was it like an annoying, shrieky voice too?
Yes, it was annoying, shrieky voice.
Yeah.
Yes. But so anyway, I don't know that anything came of that. I was like, what's your name? She wouldn't give me her name. I'm like, you're going to fucking sit here and say you're going to report me? Fine. Like, I'll sit there and just take your name and everybody around me will go ahead and message in because I'm sure this isn't the first time that someone's had a problem with you. It's not, because that's just how it works.
Was this for the entire 5-6 hour flight?
It's only a 4 hour and 50-minute flight home.
All right, 4 hour, 50 minutes. Excuse me.
Well, it's not 6 hours.
I said 5 or 6 hours.
Well, it's not 5 or 6. It was 4 hours and 40 some minutes.
Like, that changes the story.
It does. But she was just being a C word. And I just sat there very calmly and was just like, and it pisses you off when you know you did nothing wrong and the woman is just being a see you next fucking go fuck yourself. I hate her. I hate her so much. I really do.
Tell us how you really feel.
It's just so annoying because there's nothing you can do because in that she's the authority in that moment, but she's just being a disrespectful piece of shit just by being loud and obnoxious. Just shut the fuck up on the flight.
Clearly just abusing her power.
Yes. So I like I said, I'm sure it wasn't her first time doing that. So I get off the flight, but I'm a little like perturbed because I'm like, well, I have to fly in a couple of hours because not only did I land in Philly at 8:30, I had a flight at 3:40 to Detroit that I scheduled to go do this bowling thing because no one else could go or or they didn't have budget or something. And I was like, I'm going because it just makes sense for me to go to the bowling thing to help this shooter. And I just paid for it myself. But I was having to come back to fly. And I was just like, if she does something, then I'm fucked. So anyway, coming back to fly, now I'm going to be flying. There's more flying stories, Steven. The CJR 700 or 7, whatever that flight is, it's a smaller airplane. And on American Airlines, I know they don't allow you to bring rollerboards aboard. They say it's some FAA bullshit regulation where you can't bring rollerboard. Not just me, but everybody. You can't bring rollerboards, but you will tag it at the gate with a red tag. You leave it at the top. They put it underneath right there, and then then they bring it off. You don't have to go to the merry-go-round.
Yeah.
But I also understand that I can't put my camera gear under the plane, regardless, just seeing how these people throw the shit around. I mean, it's insane. So I'm prepared with my belt pack, which I load up, and I'm prepared and I load my backpack with all the extra space. I put in my R1, I put in a 24 to 105, in a 70 to 200, a 10 to 20, all of the batteries, all of my microphone packs, because they're all anything with a battery. So I have these 2 bags now. Right? I started with, technically now I have 3 bags. I started with 2. So I get up to the counter and the woman goes, you have 3 bags. So I go up to the counter and I go to get on the plane first, first class, get on the plane. And she's like, you have 3 bags. I was like, ma'am, what are you talking about? I have 2 bags to come on the plane and 1 is getting gate checked. I just asked you beforehand. You saw I had 2 bags. You need to consolidate. I'm like, into what? It's 2 bags. It's a backpack and a personal item is coming on the plane. This is tagged to be checked. And I did it in a very calm, not like this. And she's like, I have to get my manager. So she gets her manager.
You're checking the roller. I don't understand.
No shit. That's where I'm like, I'm lost. I'm like, this is going under the plane.
This is not coming with me.
This
on
is not
board.
coming on the plane. You see the bag tag. No, that's not how it is. So she gets this one woman, manager. She comes over and the woman's like, no, everything's fine. She's like, that's not what you said yesterday. And she's like, well, let me get my other manager.
Oh my God.
So now this other guy comes along. As I'm standing there off to the side, another guy comes over. I'm like, hey, this is all my camera gear. I have about $40,000 in gear. I started with 1 bag. He's like, he stops me. He goes to her. He goes, this is 2 bags. And that's getting checked.
What's so hard to figure out? I don't
He's
get
fine.
it.
I just didn't and in those situations, it's like, these are the fucking people, these gate agents want to create issues because they have a monochrome of power for like 4 minutes. And so when I was flying back, I went to the gate agent.
There's more?
No, this is fine. Okay. When I was flying back on the same plane, I went to the gate agent and I said, hi, I just want to make sure before we get on the plane, everything is fine. I've got these 2 bags to come on and this one is tagged red. She goes, yeah. She's like, 2 to go on the plane, 1 to go under. You're fine. I was like, no shit. It's just like, it's just.
Do you think they see you and they're like, yeah, we're definitely fucking with this guy. This is the guy today we're getting.
Nope, it's not me. It's not personal. It's not personal because I know it happens to my other buddy, Brandon, who's traveling. He flies 20,000 times more than anybody else. And he has gear all the time.
Obviously, the more you fly, you're bound to have more interactions and more issues with flight attendants. But still, it just seems like every time you fly, there's something that happens.
Well, also, when you fly, you also know what the rules and regulations are because you looked it up to make sure that you can get your stuff on the plane.
Of course.
And so like I said, I carry extra bags now. I have even a reusable grocery bag that folds up into nothing, like any of those grocery bags that I put in my bag just in case. I just need to load that and bring that on the plane. If I get into some kind of bad trouble, like where they're not listening or they're not making any sense, as a last resort, I put everything in that fucking bag. Yep. So you should really carry a bag. I wish I should carry one of those fresh direct bags. They're even bigger.
That's a good call because they're sturdy, legit bags and they fold up to next to nothing. And you can throw it in the bag and just always have it on you. You never know.
No, so that's another emergency bag. So anyway.
It goes to show that you need to be prepared when you're flying, especially with gear. You need to know the rules and regulations. You need to be able to clap back when needed.
And if you didn't have people, I mean, the incompetence level is insane of the gate agent. She was just so I'm like, two bags. One's getting checked. How is this any different than if I showed up here with 3 bags and you said, well, you need to check one of them? It's the same fucking thing, you dumb fuck. Moving on to April Fool's Fix.
Oh, man.
Steven did a great job with April Fool's Fix again.
Yeah, it's always fun making up fake cameras and fake press releases and fake everything. Not an easy task every single year. And we always forget about it too. It's always like late March and we're like, crap, April Fool's is next week. So I didn't start working on that video until Friday and it was due, Monday night?
But speaking of it's Friday, I'm very disappointed I missed Rebecca Black at the TLA in Philly because she is a hottie right now.
Was it on a Friday?
No, it was like Wednesday or Thursday.
Screw that. All her tour dates should just be
Thursday,
Fridays.
Every day it's Friday.
By the way, have you seen her? Because she looks great.
I just said that. She's a hottie now.
Yeah, she is a hottie.
She's like, you look at her and she's wearing she's like a DJ now. And I look at her and I'm like, yeah.
And some of her songs aren't bad.
I didn't listen to the music. She just looks like that. What's her name? Ritter from what's that girl? Ritter. Her last name's Ritter. She was in Breaking Bad.
It's unfortunate while you're looking that up that she will always be remembered as the Friday girl in that ridiculous, terrible music video.
Yes, she will be. But I found Kristen Ritter, when she had bangs, looks just like what's her name? Rebecca Black. She's out of my league. That Kristen Ritter from She's Out of My League. Kristen Ritter. Yeah, she's so hot.
Yeah, I'm looking at her now. She does look like her. Yeah.
That's right. Oh, hey, Kristen. Hey, how's it going?
Look, it's Kristen with a Y.
That's so hot.
Kristen.
She can spell her name however she wants.
It's like people that spell Steven with a PH. Weirdos.
Stefan. Anyway, talk about this April Fool's fix and your thoughts on it. We go over the different ideas, and then Steven's like, do this.
Yeah, so let me break down the process for people for the April Fool's videos that we do every year. It starts with the script. What's everyone talking about? What's hot on the streets? What's rumored? All of that kind of stuff.
Wait, actually, Steven, it's what makes for the best clickbait title.
Yeah, exactly. Really what is being talked about the most and what people want. So the A7 V has been long rumored. The A7 IV now at this point is almost 4 years old, so that's an obvious choice. Canon RF mount, that is probably the biggest thing that needs to be unlocked for third-party lenses. Everybody's been talking about that. And then the Z9 II, it's another long-in-the-tooth camera that needs updating, especially after Sony and Canon put out their latest flagships. So me and you usually go back and forth on fake specs, like what is somewhat real, what's not. How do we sell this illusion? I always like to tell you, like, let's try and tee it up like it's somewhat realistic specs, and then just throw something out of left field in there. Throw something super random that doesn't make sense, makes people question, but then still keeps them on track as they're watching. Like, well, that's odd, but everything else seems right. So it makes them believe that this is a real video. And obviously, the fake graphics really sell it, in my opinion. So
100%.
For the plug, starting out with this script, we wanted to promote something you hate and that you would never actually promote. Teleconverters is a perfect thing, and also a third-party teleconverter, something you probably would never realistically promote. So we did Viltrox Universal TCs, and if you're familiar with TCs, you'll know that a 4X TC is just absurd and not practical and possible. You'd be shooting at like f/16 or f/22 with most lenses, and it probably wouldn't even be able to focus, you know? We also said there's no loss in light or sharpness when you use these universal TCs. It's like a unicorn, you know, like a perfect teleconverter that does not exist. And I think that went over a lot of people's heads. They didn't realize that was fake because it seemed so real.
They probably skipped it because it's a
That's true. Very true.
Plug. I even put on paid plug on there, and it wasn't paid plug.
I did not realize that, actually. That's funny.
Paid promotion. I even clicked that button.
Sell it even more, yeah. And then we had the A7 V story. I made a fake camera up as usual. This one's never hard because Sony just does the same bodies for the most part and then tweaks them here and there. So I put it in an A1 II body. I chopped off that second mode dial, added a different sensor, put a C6 button on, so it has like two function buttons basically on the front, and an FX3 fan on the side. I tried to mimic Sony's promo videos. I think that really helps sell that story because Sony always does the same exact like split screen where the left white side is always like the spec in text and then the right side is the graphic. I also made up a fake press release. I actually have a plugin that will tell me exactly what font was used, what size, everything, so I can make it look legit. So I went to Sony's normal press release page and copied all of that and made my own up. I made a custom sales page up, had all the top level specs so we can highlight them throughout. Spec wise, we made it have a 39.3 megapixel sensor so we can get that like DCI 8K video. It seems somewhat realistic. It's a bump up from the 33 A7 IV sensor. Honestly, this is kind of a sensor that I would like because we also made it partially stacked, where it's not fully stacked, so it's a little better quality-wise, but it's also faster than a normal BSI sensor. Triple Bion's X3 processor with an AI brain we gave it. We gave it the 40 frames per second with the C6 button, and it jumps into APS-C mode. I think that's a pretty cool feature that kind of seems real. Feature.
Yeah.
And my favorite, we had to bring back another custom vertical grip. This time, the B0 OBZ grip. Think of it like an homage to the Nikon Pen 1.5 grip. Another Easter egg is the pricing. I didn't see anyone talk about this, and I was kind of hoping someone would bring it up, but we priced it at $300.35. And if you squint, what does that look like?
That's hilarious.
I love people like actually thinking it's real though, and then firing off in the comments like, it has a base ISO of 64. Only Nikon does that. What's a partially stacked sensor? That doesn't exist. It's like, well, Nikon has a partially stacked sensor. It is real. Who cares if Nikon only does Sony 64? It doesn't mean Sony can't. It's supposed to be a brand new camera. Like, you're telling me specs are wrong? They're made up.
Well, remember the time we did Nikon is doing away with RAW and you're going to have to pay more for it? And someone emailed me and was like, I sold my stock.
Yep.
Like, good for you. Speaking of selling stock, we'll get to that later.
And then with the Z9 II, we were initially just going to do like the same body, kind of a subtle update, but we had to do some tweaks to it. I wanted to deck it out a little bit, so we put in red buttons to go along with our partnership with Red, because we still haven't really seen a camera from Nikon yet, even with the Z5 II, that has anything from Red implemented into it. And I think they just trademarked Nikon Cinema, Z Cinema, which I'm sure they're going to eventually start making these Red-centric cameras. Anyway, I tweaked the buttons. We took off the top LCD screen, added 2 quarter 20s for a video-centric touch, giant red record button we put in there, the giant door latch, and the red video menu. We gave it a triple 8x speed processor with dual NI chips. That one actually took me a minute to make. And then we gave it 40 frames per second, 14-bit RAW, 8K 60p, Red's new RAW format, all of that stuff. For each story, again, the whole point is to sell it with somewhat realistic specs and then just throw something outrageous in there, like a liquid cooling fan in the Sony or the giant card door lock on the Z9 II. That just looks ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then we had the Canon story to unlock the mount. And I think that was the biggest giveaway is people just knew that wasn't realistic. So they're like, there's no way this is real because Canon would never unlock that. I was actually going to tease these stories in RAWtalk last week. Hey, did you hear the rumor about the A7 V or that Canon's going to unlock this? And blah, blah. But I'm like, yeah, I got to wait till April Fools. I can't really do that. But if you guys haven't watched it, check it out. It's always a fun video every year to make. It takes a lot of production effort to make it happen and to really sell it. But I think it's one of the only videos that people do on April Fools in terms of like the photo industry.
People go all out and do like the over the top leaf fake stuff. And I don't know. I think I like getting into what we do. It's Photo News Fix. We make up the news stories for the week for that.
Well, because people are expecting your normal Photo News Fix, and then you just throw in there something random out of nowhere, and people just assume it's just another week, another fix.
Did you see the shirt I was wearing?
That's the other best part. You're wearing a Nikon shirt. It's all of these little Easter eggs that
Do you
add
know
up.
what shirt that is?
It's the one from your first video ever or whatever.
Can you believe it still doesn't fit me right? Imagine what it looked like on me back then, 30 pounds less.
It is big on you. Yeah, that is
still big on me.
It must have been massive on you back then.
Yeah, it must be a large. Alan must have given me a large back in the day.
It's a big shirt.
I'm not going to go look, but that's a big shirt.
Yeah.
I feel, and I mean, I'm bigger than I was when I in 2010, 2008.
Yeah,
that was 2008.
Jeez, almost 20 years ago now.
Yeah, fuck, man.
Oh, that's scary.
Fuck that.
I know.
I don't want to talk about that and go cry again. Man, I cried the other day again. That fucking show.
What show?
This Is Us. Oh my God.
You've never seen This Is Us before?
I'm on the last. I have like 2 or 3 episodes until I'm done the season, the series.
See, I never finished the series, but I watched religiously the first 2 or 3.
Well, to watch anything on TV is stupid. I watch at 1.5x speed because it's my lunchtime show.
You watch scripted shows at fast speed?
Not unless if it's a cinematic masterpiece, no. But if it's something like Drive to Survive, F1, Full Swing, it doesn't matter. The timing and pacing doesn't matter. But 1.5x speed gets me through it. And then that's how I did Downtown Abbey, which I really enjoyed Downton Abbey. That was exciting. So let's move on to this Nikon Z5 II. I don't want to spend 8 years on it because it's not the most extravagant revolutionary thing in the history of revolution, but do you want to hit the top level specs for the people out there in the internet land?
Yeah. So first of all, we didn't know if we were even going to get this video done because you had to last minute go to
Detroit.
Yeah. So Detroit was not on your itinerary at first, and you randomly last minute went, and you were supposed to be shooting with the Z5 that weekend. So then come Monday morning, we could film right away because you were gone for the last 2 weeks. So we had to still do the preview video, and then it was coming out Wednesday night. So we only had 2 or 3 days to really get something done. And fortunately, you were still able to get some stuff done while you were gone. You brought it with you. And then when you came back, you took some more stuff with it.
I took the bowling. I was supposed to shoot baseball, but my pass didn't come in time, so
That
I
too.
photographed a kid in the park.
Another monkey wrench, yeah.
You know, it is what it is. Hit us with those spectacles.
So this camera basically takes the guts out of the ZF. It's almost exactly the same exact specs.
All right,
from
moving
that.
on. Great job. Thanks.
It puts it into a Z6 III body for the most part. You're not getting the top LCD and stuff like that, but it's essentially a mini Z6 III in terms of the overall button layout and placement and stuff like that. It feels like a substantial camera. That was the first thing I was saying to you is like, I feel like it's a real camera, not a cheap entry-level full-frame camera. It almost weighs close to the same weight as a Z6 III. So it is heavier, but I don't mind that at all personally. I think it feels not like a cheap toy like the Z5 and Z50 original felt. If you recall, that original Z5 only got the stupid battery power pack. It didn't have a real vertical grip. This new one now comes with a vertical grip. I'm assuming the same one or similar one as the Z6 III. It has that dedicated button from the Z50 II now with the Fuji film simulations, which I think the built-in Nikon ones are terrible. I know the whole point is to be able to download ones from the imaging cloud and stuff. I'm just really curious if anybody out there is actually using this imaging cloud and if they're downloading their own recipes from other people. Are there good ones out there? Like, are you actually using your own custom ones or are you not using them at all? That's what I really want to know because the built-in ones I think are just atrocious.
Yeah, I tried to go through them, but it's just, you were going through and you're like, these suck, these suck, these suck. Whoever makes these sucks.
I mean, like some of them were like, okay, this is decent. I could see it for certain situations, but it just seems very limiting where you have like Fuji's film simulations, because now I have the X100 VI. I just feel like they look way better right out of camera and they look just perfect.
They're just trying hard.
Yeah.
I mean, my take on the Z5 in the video is pretty simple. Z5 II it's a nice camera. It doesn't have the stack sensor, the partially stacked sensor. The autofocus is vastly improved over the original Z5. You still run into the same focus issues where as soon as you get someone parallel to the camera, it doesn't find their face properly.
So it's going to be exactly like the ZF. It has the same exact sensor, which is the same sensor from the Z6 II, which was the Z6 sensor that was slightly tweaked with phase detection and stuff like that. It now has the X-Speed 7 processor, though, so it should be much better than the Z5, but it's still not going to be any better than current Nikon models.
Like I was talking to Manny, and his title is the Nikon Z5 II just broke the full frame market.
Game changer.
I know he had issues with it because we talked about the focus issues, and he was like, I was missing half the shots with his model. You know,
really, with a static model.
Well, it was focusing on the eyebrow as it normally does instead of the eye type of thing.
And you didn't really shoot anything at like 1.2. You were 2.8 for most of your stuff, right?
I shot 1.4 with the bowling, and I shot 2.8 with the 70-200 in the park, and they look fine. The lower light stuff I wasn't happy with, but then again, those were JPEGs because I couldn't open the RAW files, and so they looked pretty shitty to me.
That's why we don't call these things reviews, because we usually can't open RAW files, which is a shame because it is the same exact RAW file you'll get from ZF. So
I mean, I would love more time to have with these types of cameras. See,
of course,
Nikon again, they want to send a person, or they offer to take you on a trip. They let you pick where you want to go. I'd like to go home.
The issue this time around was just that you were traveling. So they would have sent it to us 2 or 3 weeks in advance, but we couldn't do anything with it because you were out of the office.
Let's just preface that with, we're very special, and I put up a fight that I want the camera sent. And you don't, I don't want to travel somewhere. But I could be like, yeah, let's go to some place. Because if you look at Petapixel, they went to Utah to make the video. Nikon pays for that. And to me, I just think it's not worth. I don't want to take their money. I don't want them to pay for some trip to fly Steven and I somewhere for 3 days to play with it. When I say 3 days, I mean it's like 1 day, but it's also 2 travel days because you travel in, then the next day you do a whole shoot, and then you fly out either the same day or the next day. It's just to just preview a non-finished camera seems like a waste of time and a waste of Nikon's money, personally.
Yeah, I mean, it's always nice to go to these extravagant places and places that we haven't been before to preview a camera. But just unfortunately, with our schedule, it's usually not in the cards. We have a lot going on, and it's best to let you do your thing while Dan and I are editing head down, and you can really take it around town or take it to the baseball games or take it wherever around here for weeks or whatever it may be, and really run it through its paces instead of having to only use it for 1 day at a remote location.
Yeah, that's why it's just, the 6 month later and the 1 year laters are better after you actually get to use it. No one's doing that. No one else is doing that because they don't really shoot these cameras beyond the 12 minutes they hold them in their hands before they do anything.
It's not easy. It's definitely not easy. Even we struggle to do that with a lot of the cameras, but we try to do 1 year laters. We actually have the R5 Mark II coming out soon, hopefully next week.
Yeah. What I don't understand is that this love affair talking about like this camera or the Z5 was like the best entry level full frame camera, and it's like, well, for a bang for its buck. It's like, it depends on what buck you're looking for. Because if we're talking about shooting speed and focus, which is the majority of what a camera needs to do, that camera sucked at it. And there's still cameras that are better at it today than the Z5 II. It's not to say it, but at $1,700, it's still pricey. But it has nice offer. Like, it's nice.
Well, I think it corrects a lot of the issues that the R8 has when it comes to stills. For example, it has a true mechanical shutter. It shoots 11 frames per second with that, where the R8 is limited to 6 frames with the electronic first curtain. It has IBIS. It has dual card slots. It has an option for a vertical grip. It feels like a real camera in the hands. Now, video-wise, I think the R8 beats it out because it has a very fast sensor with the autofocus from the R6. It's basically the R6 II guts in the smaller body. So it's full frame, 4K 60p that's oversampled from 6K, where the Z5 II, you're getting that DX 1.5x crop in 60p. It has 10-bit 422 color in C-Log 3, where the Z5 II only does the 10-bit 420 coloring. Now it does shoot RAW, so you're getting 444 out of that, but it's the line skipped RAW. The R8 also has a digital hot shoe for the wireless audio, but its biggest issue, in my opinion, is there's no IBIS for video. And again, it doesn't have RAW video, but I don't think many people are shooting RAW video at this price point, and I really can't stand when these companies are marketing RAW video for $1,500 cameras,
Or marketing 3,000 nits of brightness.
Well, that's the other thing, because people fail to realize it only is 3,000 nits when you go into the manual EVF mode, which most people are not doing. They're just sticking to auto, shooting around, and not realizing, hey, you're not getting the full brightness of that EVF at all.
But you don't want the full brightness. You don't want it.
You do if you're shooting on a very, very bright day. That's the only time, because you need to combat the light.
Yeah, I personally, again, have never had any issue with any of the mirrorless cameras in bright sunlight being able to see it.
For video, I've definitely had problems in like Hawaii when we were doing the EOS R. I remember having exposure issues with that.
But I was just in Hawaii, Steven, and I had no problems with the EVF of the Canon R50V.
It was a bright EVF, right?
It doesn't have one.
I know.
The fucking camera doesn't have an EVF. Fucking stupid, dumb. And why?
Yeah. I mean, to save money at the end of the day, it's a $600-$700 camera. So,
but you have a digital hot shoe. Give me that round thing for $300.
Exactly.
The EVF that they did on the M6,
the adapter from the M6 Mark II, and that's the way to have the best of both worlds. If you want an EVF, you pay for it. If you don't, you just buy the camera straight up. But back to the Z5 II, I think the biggest thing they updated was the continuous frame rate. It now does 11 frames per second in RAW mechanical, or the C15, C30 in electronic, even though it's a slow reading sensor, where the old one was like 4 frames per second continuous. You really couldn't shoot anything fast. So that was the issue with the original, and the autofocus as well. But yeah, this is a pretty stacked camera for an entry level, even at $1,700. It does come in a little more expensive than the previous one, but all of the Nikon cameras pretty much have been a little more expensive since.
They did put some stuff in there. Now, speaking of more expensive, we don't know what's going to happen in the photo industry or any industry here in the United States at the moment. With whatever Liberation Day that Trump decided to brand or market yesterday, with announcing tariffs on blanket tariffs on everything coming into the country, and reciprocal tariffs going up for certain things, like things made in Japan, Vietnam, and China, where you could be paying up to 56% tax on shit coming in. Let's be abundantly clear. A tariff is a tax on the people who have to pay for it. Period. Prices go up. It's not like you're going to eat the fucking difference in price and not have any profit at all, which is what I possibly might be running into with my photo book, because it's getting on the boat. If it's not on the boat by the 5th, which is 2 days from now. And I was told that it takes 1 or 2 weeks to get on the boat, and we approved it recently, yesterday. Or if there's an exemption, because I got a call from my guy who worked for Bernie who was like, this might be bad for you. And unless there's an exemption, you might want to talk to a lawyer for an exemption because it's art products or an art project. It's photo book. It's not electronics. It's not something else. It's possible that there's 10% blanket on that. And if not, it's 20-some% that would be coming in. I'm fucked at that point because it's off of the cost of the goods. I can't go and collect money from people that already paid.
Yeah.
So I get fucked, right? And even if it went up before, I would have had to just pass it along to the people, and then the price goes up, and that's just how it is. That's what a tariff is.
Of course.
So the economists have said that it will cost people an extra $5,000 a year on average, each household, $5,000 to in just extra money they have to pay out that they wouldn't have otherwise had to do. What does it mean for the camera industry? I reached out to Canon, Nikon, Sony. They don't have answers right now on what their companies are going to say or what they're going to do.
I did reach out to our Nikon rep the day of that the Z5 II was getting announced. That was also Liberation Day or whatever. And I said, is this pricing going to be affected? Are we still locked in at $1,700? Because we're always briefed, obviously, weeks before. And the pricing is usually not fully locked until like a week or two prior. And they did lock it in at $1,700 and said it won't affect it as of now. So we'll see. I think future models will all be affected.
But if the product is already here or on a boat or already on their way, then it's not affected as of right this second. Now, all of this can change because the stock market has, for all intent and purposes, crashed. I mean, it's down. The Dow is down 3.2%. That's 1,300. The S&P is down 3.5%. The NASDAQ, which is all tech, is down fucking almost 5%. I mean, it's just, and it's crashing global markets around the world. It just seems like a really stupid idea to get into this type of fight, to tank the markets for no particular reason, or tank the economy, to be honest with you, because if you go and buy a car that comes in after this, it's insane how much more money you're going to have to pay. $10,000, $12,000, $15,000 extra, and it is a tax on the people buying. There's no other way to say it, that a tariff is a tax. And I've been listening to economists that follow this, and they talk about the whole idea of reciprocal tariffs, meaning, well, other countries put tariffs on us, we're going to just match the tariff that they put on us.
Back.
But they used an example of, well, the reason you don't see a lot of Japanese pickup trucks here is that the United States already has like a 85% tariff on those products coming in, which means it's less expensive to buy the Chevys and the Fords and GMCs and stuff because there aren't the tariffs there. But cars going into Japan from the United States only have a 13% tariff. So this idea that we were getting screwed on tariffs in other countries is bullshit. And they showed like 15, 20 different examples of where that is not even close to correct, where other countries don't tax our stuff as much as we actually tax their shit coming in. So, like everything else, it goes much deeper than the understanding of Donald Trump. So who knows what this is? I was looking at some of the photo websites and Sony Alpha Rumors. They talk about how the price of this camera is going to go up this amount. It's not based off of the retail price. It's based off of the cost of the goods, if I'm pretty sure.
I saw that pricing too. I'm like, there's no way that's not the correct. That's just straight up slapping on 25% on the current MSRP. That's not how it works.
I'm pretty sure that's not how it works. But again, nobody really knows to the fullest extent because, I mean, my hope is that this fucking gets delayed or fucking cut altogether. But the deeper issue here is the collapsing of markets, but then people buying in and getting rich again, like the wealthy or who can able to defend themselves and just, this is a blip on the radar for that type of group, and the people get hurt are the everyday people that get hurt. I mean, the fact that I'm gonna get boned on if they fucking sit there and tax my shit, they're books, they're fucking photo books. And I know some people might be like, but what if you should have done it in the United States? Then you wouldn't have to worry about it. It's
made
like
in the USA.
There's no one in the United States that can print and bind this book the way that they do. prices are different, and it's like I did it in Italy. It's not like Italy does slave labor. It's not China, right?
It's actually much more expensive to do it in Italy than doing it here.
Right, it cost me $6,000 plus to get it on a boat.
It's premium printing, yeah.
I showed my book to two photographers yesterday, and they sat there and were in awe. They literally sat there and looked at a book the way you look at a book.
Whoa!
No, they would turn the page, and they were like,
amazing.
They kept trying to turn the page and seeing if there was two pages stuck together, when in fact that's just how thick the pages are.
Every time I open up the original Bernie book that I have on the bookshelf over here, I always am just in awe of like how good the quality is. And then I look at the middle of the page and I'm like, oh man, there's Bernie's face that's
stuck in the gutter.
Lost in the gutter.
But that's what we rectified with this, and that's why it took longer, and that's why I'm going to get fucked if these tariffs come through. Yeah, it's not like I can collect more money now. It really isn't. All my profit for the entire project is going to be gone.
So are all of the books completely printed, ready to rock now?
Yeah, they're bound. They're ready to go. They're packed into pallets. They're like 12 fucking yeah, great. Awesome. Should have been done months ago. I'm so pissed at the producing people behind this. It was a combination of many delays for designer, many delays for the printer. Like the first proof, the first book they sent me as a sample, just blank, they used the wrong paper. They used a thinner paper, and I told them,
hey, here's a book, but it will look nothing like the final book.
They sent me it with different paper, and I was like, I said I want the same paper as Bernie. They're like, but we're more pages now. It's going to be heavier. I'm like, I don't give a fuck. And so now that takes an extra 2 weeks to get another copy made to then send over. And I'm like, yeah, that paper feels better. That's what I asked for in the first place. Or when they made a proof and they made one wet proof, they didn't do one brighter or one darker to just send three at the same time and say, which do you like? So I had to get that done again. And then just other delay. It's just fucking bullshit that it adds up to this.
I was going to say, you've been done your part for months at this point. Before the end of the year, I think you were fully done, right?
The book was basically done. There were some minor things, but it mostly had to deal with the back and forth about the layout and design because of the going back and forth deciding, are we doing the Swiss binding or not? And I'm like, I'm not doing it. So I had to they had to send me another sample to see where the issues might be. And they told me there could be a 10% where misalignment. But what I've seen in the two books that I have, it's fucking great.
Yeah.
Like, even if it would be misaligned by like a fraction, like a millimeter,
it's better than losing like a face in the gutter.
Than losing more.
Yeah.
So anyway, the whole tariff thing is complete and utter bullshit. And the whole reason that Trump is doing this, that he says, is that we want to bring manufacturing back to the United States. It's like, well, are you going to start making TVs here? Do you know how expensive a TV made here would be with the labor prices here?
The unfortunate part is that almost everything made in the USA is way more expensive than stuff overseas.
Within reason. But I understand things like building supplies. You want to do steel in the United States, but make it so that the pricing is not like it's 8 trillion times. You're not gouging people, right? Have advancements. Like there's certain things you could do here that do make sense, but printing my book didn't make sense here. Just didn't make sense. And you're not going to be like, cars aren't manufactured 100% in the United States. So that's it's very frustrating as a person. This is not going to turn out well. It's just not going to turn out well. It's just stupid. It's just flat out stupid. It's all vindictive bullshit. Like, I want to keep my if I'm not going to tax the Teslas as much as this car. It's like, well, that's fucking bullshit. So anyway, that's the end of I don't know what's going to happen with my book. All I can hope for is that they either get it on the boat today, or tomorrow, which I don't know that they even have the ability to do, even though it was placed and ready to go, or an exemption. So we'll have to wait and see. But either way, I'm fucked. You know, it is what it. No, I don't want to say it is what it is. It's fucking bullshit, and that's where I'm going to put it. And fuck them. You know, collect the money, you fuckheads. I'm going to do like a tax write-off of that. Like, I could just deduct it and be like, fuck you, because they fire everybody from the IRS anyway. So go fuck yourselves, you fucks.
Okay.
Moving on to Canon rumors and Sigma rumors. There's 2 rumors from Canon. There's the R7 II, which is rumored, and then a 14-28 IS-USM-Z. Now, that right there is the lens that I wanted at day one, Steven.
Yeah, I said the same. Well, actually, we were kind of hoping for like a crazy f2 lens, but that would be an insanely giant, heavy, expensive lens, like a 2.0 Trinity. But yeah, 14 to 28 is kind of what we wanted. The 10 to 20 is nice, but it's an f4.
At the beginning, they put out a 15 to 35, which was basically replacing a 16 to 35, which was fine. But I was like, if you have a 24 to 70, you don't want a 16 to 35. Yep. It's overlap. A 14 to 28 makes sense.
I was always jealous of Nikon's 14 to 24. I always thought that was the perfect pairing. It's a 2.8. It's an extra 2 millimeters wider than the Canon. I don't need the extra 35 reach on the Canon because, like you said, I got a 24 to 70. So now, yeah, you have that dedicated 14 to 28, and then I guess the 28 to 70. Or, no, this is a Z lens, so we'll go with the 24 to 105.
That's why I didn't think it needed to even go to 28.
Yeah.
I think they'll still come out with an 11 to 20, like something special.
I do miss the 11 to 24, though, I will say, because it was optically perfect, because it was for DSLRs. You could shoot at 11 millimeters and not be relying on digital lens correction to stretch out the image.
Yeah, it's got like 20 of them in the basement right now, Steven. And mine.
I didn't even sell mine so many times throughout my concert photography career. I mean, I probably used it almost every single show. And it was always great for that establishing wide shot. Or when I'm thinking of like Imagine Dragons, the singer coming super close to me and literally getting within a foot or two of me and having that 11 millimeter, I still get the full body in. And it's such a killer looking shot. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
You can't do that with a 16 to 35.
No, 16 to 30, but people are like, but 16 to 35 is a great photojournalistic lens. I'm like, yeah, 1997. like we evolve here. There's a 24 to 105 and a 70 to 200, right? They have overlap, but then this would go in there too. I would consider using a 14 to 28 a ton because the 10 to 20 I don't grab very often because it's not because it's an f4. The 11 to 24 was an f4, but just optically, there's just something weird about that lens.
Oh, I've said it since day one that I just hate that it heavily relies on that lens correction because to me, it's a rectilinear lens when you actually straighten out the image with lens correction, but it's almost like a fisheye when you don't put lens correction on it. And that's, don't get me wrong, it's not just Canon, it's Sony's doing it too. Nikon's doing it as well. They're all doing it.
Nikon bakes theirs in.
Nikon does bake it in, yes.
I guarantee you that this 14 to 28 will not be optically perfect and will also use heavy correction at 14.
100%.
So the R7 II, I question the hell out of the validity of this type of thing. Do you want to do the specs on this or you want me to go through it?
So Canon Rumors is saying the R7 Mark II is getting the same body as the R5 II, which I do question because Canon seems to be usually the only one that doesn't use the same bodies across different models. Like Sony does pretty much, when a new body gets introduced, they all get it. The A9, the A7 series, all of them, the A1. Nikon typically does it too, or makes bodies that are very, very similar to each other so they can use the same grip. Canon usually doesn't, minus the R5, R6 that did have the same body. But this would be for APS-C. So that's cool if they do it. I just don't think it's realistic. I know people have also complained about the ergonomics of the R7 with that little spinny wheel and stuff. So when they go back and forth between, say, an R5 II and then back to an R7, it's very weird muscle memory wise. They tend to forget that, it has a wheel and it's different. It's just hard to quickly get to the buttons when you're used to having them in a certain place on another body. But they're saying this has a 40 megapixel sensor, which I think is great. It's also a shit ton of pixels and an APS-C sensor. We'll see about that. Well,
more
Fuji
equals,
did it.
Yeah, but that crop sensor, Fuji did it.
Well, this is crop sensor.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, APS-C. I was thinking. Yeah. But I don't agree with going to 4. Like, it's just like, wait, smaller sensor, more pixels equals less quality. I don't care about the 8K possibility for video.
Well, I was going to say, the only reason they're going to cram 40 is to get that 8K DCI video in there.
And how are you watching 8K back again?
Yeah, I personally don't watch any 8K video.
How's anybody watching 8K video? Not even my Apple Vision Pros that I don't even use are 8K, I don't even think.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's great for future-proofing, but...
future-proofing? By the time the future comes around, there's something better already.
Yeah, and even playing 8K video on YouTube, I mean, I have a 5K display, but so I'm not watching true 8K, but even watching it on YouTube, if I hit the 8K option, it buffers forever, and I can barely even play it back anyway. And I've got fast internet.
Ladies and gentlemen, entering the ring right now, Let's get ready to rumble. Michael Buffer. You said Buffer.
Oh, I was like, where'd you come up with that from?
Buffer.
So now, being 8K video and having the same body as the R5 Mark II, it will be compatible with the cooling grip, which is cool. No mechanical shutter, they're saying, though.
But why would I want such a big? Then the other bullshit rumors are global shutter sensor or just no mechanical shutter, which would mean that maybe a stack sensor.
See, I don't think they're going to give it stacked or global shutter. I would be very surprised, especially 40 megapixels.
I just don't. Well, it's crop sensor, so it's different. But I don't really think. In this day and age, my takeaway is I get the APS-C line. It honestly looks like Sony has given up basically on the APS-C with the pricing
and their RX100 line too.
But with the pricing of full frame stuff today, why would I want a $2,000 crop sensor camera? And the answer people will give you is, but I get more reach. Well, you really don't get more reach. You just don't. You're getting fictitiously 1.6x crop factor, but you're also using a shittier sensor than your full frame if you just cropped. I just with the pricing like Z5 II, R8, and hopefully an R8 II.
Keep in mind the R7 was $1,500, not $2,000. Granted,
Sure.
Tariffs, who knows what's going to happen there. But R6 Mark II is $2,500, so it's $1,000 difference, and typically they're giving everything those cameras have in an APS-C body. Now, what I've personally not ever liked about these APS-C bodies from Canon is I just think the bodies are way too small. They're not ergonomically friendly. The grips are always super tiny. I want like a real like the Z5 II or Z50 II. I want like a real body with an APS-C sensor, personally.
Yeah.
And then they're also saying CF Express B and SD card slots. Again, same body as R5 II, so same slots. That's a welcomed upgrade from the dual UHS-2 SD cards. So I'm assuming the buffer and frame rate will be pretty solid if that's the case.
We'll see. I don't think it's happening. I mean, they'll probably come out with something, but
it sounds like a wish list to me. I don't think it's really happening either, but who knows? Maybe they'll blow us away. The R7's pretty stacked camera, so they need to really update it with a lot of heavy hitting specs to make it worthwhile.
Yeah, I just maybe they're going to focus more on the video side of it, but not with that. Maybe make it an R7V, whatever.
Yeah,
but
who knows?
I don't know, man. Let's go to the last rumor. Sony Alpha Rumors shared something that they said was going to be epic, a Sigma 200 1.8 rumor. So I haven't heard anything. I don't know if a 200 1.8 is in the works. We just saw a 300 to 600, so I think anything is possible from Sigma. Mm-hmm. I do have some contention with the Sony Alpha Rumors guy, though. You know, he's talking about he's talking about a 200 1.8 and how amazing it would be because right now on his hikes he's using a 28 to 300 Tamron that's a 5.6, and that would give him 3 more stops of light. I'm like, that is the dumbest statement you could make, because you could also take because he was saying he uses 200 quite often. I was like, well, you could take a 70 to 200 with you. That's a 2.8. Like, then it's 1 stop difference. It's like, what are you talking about? You're taking a Tamron lens that's great for a basic consumer, but not a pro, to then compare to say, and are you going to take a 200 1.8 off into the trekking that's generally going to be heavy?
And speaking of heavy, I think they're saying it's going to be like the size of the Sigma 500 5.6. And if you recall, that is a fairly large lens, definitely bigger than a standard 70 to 200, which makes sense. I mean, Canon already did the 200 1.8 years ago. What was it? Almost 30 years ago.
It has to be 30 plus years, because I shot that at a hockey rink years ago because it gave you more light.
And that lens was also, I think, the 200 f2 when they came out in 2008 with that one.
I have that in the basement.
I think it was $6,000. So I'm assuming this will be close to that price. Well, it's Sigma though.
No, it's going to be a hell of a lot less because it's a 1.8 and it's new. Oh, well, I mean, 1.8's better than 2, but the technologies have shifted. So it would probably be a $3,000 or $4,000, probably a $4,000 lens at this point.
Well, and the fact that it's third party, Sigma always comes in almost half of the price of those first party lenses.
Nikon had a 200 f2. That was like the dream portrait lens at the time, but times have changed. You know, what was a dream portrait lens then? Because I used the 200 f2 to shoot bowling, and a couple years ago, because I was like, well, I want to use this. Limitation to 15 frames a second because it's an older EVF. So that was a problem. And the quality of it was not on par with the 70-200 2.8. The difference now between 2.8 and 2, yes, there's a difference when it comes to the depth. But when it comes to ISO at this point, that was the whole thing with a 1.8 back in the day.
Yeah.
That it gave you the ability to drop the ISO or use 800 speed film where instead of 1600, which made a big difference. Right?
Yeah, it was much more literally about the light gathering aspect than the bokeh.
Right. And now it really doesn't matter with ISO because when something like the Z5 II can do 100 to 64,000, we're talking. So instead of shooting at 3,200, you're at 6,400. You're at 5,000. It's not that big of a deal anymore.
And the fact that you have lenses like the 135 1.8s out in the market that are very, very similar for much less money.
Oh, yeah. And small.
And smaller and lighter. I would personally rather do a 135 because I just think it's much more versatile than a 200. You need a lot of space unless you're taking like a tight headshot with a 200 1.8.
Yeah. So we'll have to wait and see. I don't have any word on that thing just yet. If we ever do, we'll have a preview, but
of course,
we'll all have to get it in our hands. There's a lot of stuff that's always in the works. We're going to start landing this plane, but what were you going to say, Steven?
I was just going to say there's a shit ton of gear so far already this year. I mean, we're only 4 months in, and I feel like there's been a lot of new camera releases and lenses and a lot of firsts, you know, the 300 to 600, all that.
Yeah. We'll have to see what the rest of the year brings. I think these tariffs and uncertainty is going to be very difficult for companies to navigate. And it's not just...
Maybe that's why everything's coming out. They're all like, oh, well, we were going to release it at the end of the year, but get it out now so it doesn't hit the tariff.
Well, here's the problem with another problem with the whole tariff thing is companies can't decide or figure out how to proceed with their plans for productions or anything because there's nothing defined. It's always changing. They announce one thing, they go back on it. They announce another, they double this. They change this. And these companies are just sitting there going, well, how are we supposed to prepare for the next 12 months of our production schedule? We don't know what to do because of the uncertainty, which is what drives, the markets down and sentiment down. The economy down because it's just like if you have to, it costs you $5,000 more a year to buy whatever it is, supplies. They're talking about insurance going up again, right? Repairs on vehicles would go up again because where are the parts coming from
right now?
Well, where the parts come from, right? Nothing's being manufactured here. And it's not saying that everything needs to be manufactured here. That's the point is when you have a global economy and you work together, something they do great, we do better here. We might do something even better here that we export and they import over there. The idea that we're getting raped on tariffs in other countries is just false and wrong. It's not reciprocal. If they have whatever, fuck it. It's fucking bullshit. It's fucking bullshit. The little people are going to be fucking hurt. Whether you're a Democrat, Republican, it doesn't matter. It's going to hurt you. Whether you voted for the guy or you didn't vote for the guy, it's still going to hurt you, and it's still going to come down and be very painful regardless. That's where we're standing at right now. And I have to go because I get to go to baseball games to go shoot and disappear from the world.
Baseball season is back.
Yeah.
Is it going to rain on you?
I don't know if it's going to rain.
Looks pretty shitty out right now.
It didn't say rain in the forecast. No, it's not showing any rain from now until 11 p.m. And maybe there might be a little sprinkly dinkly, but I don't think so. I'm not really seeing much in the way of rain coming.
I mean, it's a good day to shoot, nice and overcast.
Yeah, we'll see. Why is it showing me wind speed? I don't want to see wind speed.
It's going to be extra windy, yeah.
I don't want to see wind. I want to see rain. No wind, no rain. The keep me and the fuck you. No wind, no rain.
I love that song.
That's a great song. It's no wind, no rain.
Yeah.
On a quiet summer's day. Yeah. What is that song?
I don't know. I thought you made it up.
No wind, no rain can stop me. It's Diana Ross. Oh, this is from Ain't No Mountain High Enough. Ain't no mountain high enough. Ain't no
I was hoping you were going to sing
valley
like Hillary
enough.
Duff, Come Clean.
How does that sound?
Let the rain fall down.
That's a good song. I did like Hillary Duff. I really
Lizzie
enjoyed
McGuire,
that.
man.
Well, I really enjoyed
my
that video.
Crush growing up.
First off, second off, when she was an adult, I enjoyed watching her fellate her fiance on the balcony video. That was very lovely.
Heyo.
I mean, not because
wait,
you didn't
she
see
did?
any D. Oh yeah, yeah. Here, Hillary Duff, fellatio, not fellatian boyfriend. This is a thing.
Oh, oh man, I need to sign off and not look at this video.
Yeah,
I
it was a
know
real
about that.
thing.
Wow.
Yeah, you didn't know that, Steven?
I did not. No.
The things you learn on RAWtalk.
I will be deep diving. I mean, working on this podcast in a minute.
Anyway, next week on Fellatio Talk, Bill Clinton gets fellatio in the Oval Office in simpler times.
Oh, jeez.
It's all right. It wasn't
all right.
sex.
Go do your game.
I have to go by. But okay, everybody. RAWtalk episode 145. You could still text us that and questions. They still come in.
Let us know if you got fooled by the April Fool's video, what gave it away for you, all that kind of stuff. And if you're going to be getting the Z5 II, if you're looking forward to it.
Thank you for listening to RAWtalk episode 145. Steven's about to go look at Hillary Duff fellate her fiance on a balcony.
Yes.
Jared, PolinFrontosPhoto.com. See ya.
Oh.